What's with that cheap suit? I bet your cleaning company isn't doing well, huh? Can a failure like you even afford the participation fee? At the reunion, my ex-girlfriend, whom I hadn't seen since starting my cleaning business, hurled these harsh words at me. The girl who used to be kind had completely changed her personality. However, after I revealed a shocking truth to her, her attitude towards me changed drastically. My name is Michael. When I was in the 3rd grade, I lost both of my parents to illness and was taken in by my paternal grandfather. My grandfather was very kind and supportive during my time of grief. Thanks to him, I was able to overcome the sorrow of losing my parents. I loved my grandfather very much. He was also a very neat and tidy person. It made sense, considering he ran a small cleaning company and was very particular about cleanliness. Cleaning cleanses the soul too, he often said. Thanks to long-standing clients, his business managed to survive, but it was always a tight operation. Although I was the grandson of the company's owner, people often mistook me for being wealthy, but in reality, we lived a very modest life. We were far from luxury. The employees at my grandfather's company were all kind-hearted people. When my grandfather was bedridden with a cold, they took care of me. They even helped me with my homework. Though I didn't have parents, I felt blessed by the people around me. My dream was to become a doctor. I was inspired by the doctors who tried their best to save my parents until the very end. In the end, my parents couldn't be saved, but the doctors were so dedicated that my grandfather often said, "We were lucky to have such caring doctors." I studied very hard. For high school, I was accepted into a top local public school known for academic excellence. I couldn't afford tutoring, but I maintained high grades in high school. My goal was to get into medical school right out of high school, so I had to work hard. My grandfather supported my dream, saying, "I'll work hard so you can go to the university of your choice, Michael." Seeing him work so hard motivated me to study even harder. In my sophomore year of high school, I became close with a female student. Her name was Jessica. Her parents owned a famous company. Jessica was indeed a president's daughter, a true lady of high society. She lived in what could only be described as a mansion, coming from a wealthy family. However, Jessica wasn't your typical heiress. She wasn't much interested in fashion. She aspired to work in robotics in the future and was even a member of the robotics club. Jessica and I were academic rivals, often competing for the top spot in our class. We were aware of each other but weren't close at first. One day, Jessica came to me with a math workbook. "Michael, do you understand this problem?" I asked my friends, but none of them get it, so I thought maybe you would. "Let me take a look." I looked at the workbook. Fortunately, I understood how to solve it right away, so I explained it to her. Jessica was delighted, saying, "Thank you, your explanation was so clear." This incident brought Jessica and me closer. As we helped each other with studies, we became comfortable enough to talk like friends. Jessica admired me for maintaining high grades without attending tutoring, calling me hardworking and cool. I was much poorer than Jessica and didn't own any luxury items. But she never cared about that and treated me just the same. She looked beyond titles and appearances, and I found myself falling for her. When I confessed my feelings, Jessica also admitted that she liked me. After that, we started going on dates on weekends and studying together at each other's houses. We supported each other during the intense study period just before our exams. Thanks to that, we both got accepted into our first choice universities. I attended a national university's medical school, which was close enough to commute from home. Jessica went to a private university's mechanical engineering department in a major city. Since Jessica's university was far away, she had to move, turning our relationship into a long-distance one. It was sad to be apart. but we stayed in touch regularly through our phones and met up and traveled together during longer vacations like summer break. I still enjoyed spending time with Jessica, but she gradually began to change. Specifically, she started to become very concerned about her appearance. At first, I was happy to see her becoming prettier. "I'd dressed up specially for you, Michael," she would say, and I couldn't help but feel pleased. However, over time, Jessica became more concerned with appearances than anything else. If I wore inexpensive clothes for a date, she would make a face and say, "What's with those cheap-looking clothes?" Even when I gave her a necklace worth $100 as a birthday gift, putting in extra effort, she said thank you, but her expression suggested she had hoped for something more expensive. Jessica's change in personality was likely influenced by the friends she made at university. Being in a university in a major city, many students were focused on fashion. There also seemed to be a strong emphasis on academic prestige. She became more concerned about appearances due to their influence. Yet, her love for robotics never faded. Jessica continued to study hard, even pursuing graduate studies while maintaining her interest in fashion. It was sad to see her change, but because I still liked these aspects of her, our relationship continued. On my end, I studied hard and successfully obtained my medical license. My graduation was also set. Jessica graduated from graduate school and secured a job, and we were happy for each other's achievements. We were discussing a celebratory trip when a major incident happened to me. My grandfather fell and passed away. According to the employees at his company, he collapsed suddenly at work and couldn't be saved despite being rushed to the hospital. Facing my motionless grandfather in the hospital, I couldn't stop my tears. I somehow managed to get through the funeral and other procedures, but my heart felt heavy and my body was lethargic. However, I couldn't stay down forever. I had to think about my grandfather's cleaning company, which had lost its president. He had handled many tasks as president, and it was difficult for the remaining employees to fill the gap. Being a small company, losing even one person was a significant blow. Hiring new people wasn't feasible for a small, struggling cleaning company. The company's finances were tight, and there was talk of shutting it down. However, most of the employees were over 50, and finding new jobs would be difficult for them. So, I decided to take over the cleaning company for their sake. The employees opposed this unanimously. "Michael, you should become a doctor," they said. "Don't sacrifice your life for us old folks," they urged, but I took over the company out of gratitude to the employees who had helped me. I also didn't want to shut down the company my grandfather had worked so hard to maintain. I talked to Jessica about this. I thought she would understand, but her response was unexpectedly cold. "A small cleaning company has no future. I don't see a bright future with you, so let's break up," she said. Her words shocked me. The kind Jessica I knew had become someone who judged people based on status and appearance. Looking at Jessica Gay, I saw she was clad entirely in designer brands, with flashy makeup. The girl I once knew was no longer there. I was saddened, but at the same time, I realized I no longer wanted to be with this changed Jessica. "I understand, let's break up." Saying just that, Jessica and I easily ended our relationship. Perhaps because my affection for her had already cooled a bit, I didn't linger too much on the heartbreak. I quickly moved on and, after graduating from university, devoted myself to the cleaning company. I was determined to improve its performance and make it a company my grandfather could be proud of. Though I was a novice in business management, I knew blindly working hard wasn't enough. First, I studied books on business and economics. Then, using my knowledge of mathematics from university, I analyzed the company's performance data and devised a strategy. I also put effort into sales and social media advertising to make our company more known. Our company had high customer satisfaction. It was just not well known. That's why our long-standing clients had always chosen us. My strategy worked. Requests gradually increased, and the company's performance improved. The fact that a medical school graduate had turned around a cleaning company made an impact, leading to media coverage. These interviews helped promote our business, leading to further improvements in performance. As work increased, so did our need for more hands, especially as our staff was aging. Due to the aging workforce, we decided to hire younger employees. The cleaning industry isn't exactly a popular field. To my surprise, we received more applications from people in their 20s than expected, bringing new energy to the company. Of course, not everything went as planned, and there were many failures. But thanks to the support of all the staff, we overcame these challenges. I can't thank them enough. Years after taking over the cleaning company, I received an invitation to a high school reunion. Wanting to see old friends, I decided to attend. "Michael, you need a break from all the hard work," a veteran employee told me, so I planned to enjoy myself. The reunion was held in a fancy hotel. I quickly found my friends. "It's been a while," I called out, and they smiled happily in response. We had a great time reminiscing. The buffet food was delicious, and I was having a good time. An hour into the reunion, I stepped out to use the restroom and saw a woman. It was Jessica. She wore an expensive-looking necklace and a glamorous dress. Feeling a bit awkward, but not wanting to ignore her, I said, "Long time no see. How have you been?" I had a faint hope that, after all this time, we could casually chat like we used to. However, Jessica scrutinized me from head to toe and smirked in a mocking manner. "What's with that cheap suit? Your cleaning company must not be doing well, huh? Can a failure like you even afford the participation fee?" Her words hurt me. It was foolish of me to hope she might have returned to her kinder self. I realized she would probably never change back. Thinking this, I felt both sadness and a sense of loneliness. While I stood there speechless, my classmate Brandon found me and approached with a smile. His face was red from drinking, and he didn't seem to notice my serious demeanor. Slapping my shoulder, Brandon said with a grin, "Congrats on making it into the Millionaires Club, man." Hearing this, Jessica looked confused. "What do you mean by the Millionaires Club?" she asked. Brandon looked surprised at her question. "You don't know, Michael here has made a huge success of his cleaning company. His assets are now over $30 million. "Really? That can't be true." Jessica gasped in disbelief. Jessica was in disbelief, but Brandon, with a flushed face, affirmed it. "It's not a lie. The local media ranked local company presidents by their assets, and Michael made it onto the list of wealthiest people." "Well, it's just a local thing. Nationally, it's not a big deal at all," I added modestly. My cleaning company had expanded in scale and had many employees. As a result, my assets had increased significantly. I did own more expensive suits, but I had sent them to the cleaners and ended up wearing a cheaper suit to the reunion. But I had no intention of bragging. To reiterate, I had come this far thanks to my employees. I couldn't have done it alone. When I made it onto the list of wealthiest people, the local media came to interview me. I initially declined because I didn't like the sensational nature of the story, but I agreed on the condition that I could promote another activity I was involved in. That activity was a community cleanup volunteer program. In my hometown, littering and illegal dumping had been a problem for several years. It wasn't something that could be ignored. It was so bad it made the news. My hometown, known for its beautiful scenery and as a tourist destination, was marred by this litter. Wanting to do something as a cleaning company, I came up with the idea of volunteering for cleanup. Every Saturday, employees and local residents joined together for the cleanups. When I put out a call for more volunteers, the news about the wealth list led to an unexpected turnout of 10,000 volunteers. As they say, there's strength in numbers, and the town was cleaned up incredibly quickly. With so many people, we also came up with ideas to prevent littering. Based on these ideas, we installed security cameras and took various measures, significantly reducing littering and illegal dumping. The cleanup made the town more attractive, increasing tourism and significantly contributing to the local economy. As I explained this, Jessica looked astonished. "I was abroad until recently, so I didn't know," she stammered, then fell silent, looking downcast. I didn't need to linger on Jessica, so I quickly used the restroom and returned to enjoy the reunion with my friends. The next day at work, while I was busy, a visitor arrived. It was Jessica. I felt uneasy, wondering if she had come to mock me again, but I decided to listen to what she had to say. In my office, Jessica apologized to me. "I'm really sorry for what I said yesterday. I also regret breaking up with you over your job before we graduated." Her demeanor was completely different from the day before. As I was still processing this change, Jessica continued. "Listening to your story made me reflect on my life all night. I realized that since university, I've been too focused on appearances and status, losing sight of people's inner values," she said, her eyes seemingly returning to their former self. Looking closer, I noticed she wasn't wearing any expensive accessories. She seemed to have genuinely changed. Her sincere apology was evident. "Learning about your volunteer work made me realize how selfish and shallow I've been. You've been working selflessly for others, even when it doesn't bring you money. While I've only cared about making myself look better, from now on, I want to live for others, like you do." Jessica then looked saddened. "After hearing about your success, I thought you might think I'm only interested in money. I wish I had realized my mistakes sooner, but I really wanted to apologize, so I came here. Sorry for showing up so suddenly. I'll leave now." "Wait," I called out, stopping Jessica as she tried to leave, downcast. I can see her truly remorseful. "I don't think you're after money. I forgive everything that happened before," I said, speaking from the heart. I smiled warmly, looking into Jessica's eyes. "It's all in the past now. I'm glad to see you've returned to your old self." Jessica replied with tears in her eyes, "Thank you, I'm sorry." After a long time, Jessica and I were able to mend our relationship. I was truly happy she had rediscovered what was important. A week later, Jessica contacted me, asking, "Could we discuss a work matter? Could you come to the office building near the station?" The building, recently completed, was an impressive structure. When I arrived, Jessica greeted me. "This office building actually belongs to my company," she revealed. "Really?" I exclaimed. After her studies abroad, Jessica returned to US, opting not to take over her parents' business. Instead, she decided to establish her own company. "I've always loved robots, so I founded a company that develops them," she explained. Even though her personality had changed, her passion for robots remained. "I want your company to handle the cleaning of this office building. I trust you completely since you're the president," she proposed. "Of course, I'd be happy to. We'll clean it with all our heart," I assured her. Hearing my eager agreement, Jessica smiled warmly. "I'm really glad to have Michael clean up my heart as well." I was pleased to be of help to Jessica. Subsequently, Jessica sent a robot to my company that would make cleaning easier. "It's a product we're planning to release, but I'd like you to use it and tell me what's good and bad about it," she requested. The robot was incredibly user-friendly and highly praised by our on-site staff. It improved work efficiency and made the job easier on their bodies. Half a year later, Jessica and I got back together. Watching her strive daily to create robots that help people reignited my feelings for her. Lately, I've been thinking about marriage and contemplating when to propose. On the anniversary of my grandfather's death, I took Jessica to visit his grave. I believe that my grandfather would have approved of and been happy with Jessica as she is now. Of course, I've continued to work hard without cutting corners. I'm expanding my business further, and Jessica is continuously creating hit products. No matter how successful we become, we've promised to never forget our gratitude towards others and to maintain a pure heart. I believe having a pure heart is vital in life. I'm actually about to change jobs soon. Is that because you got fired, not because you're changing jobs? With your high school education and clumsiness, there's no way you could find another job. Looking down on me with a mocking face, she underestimated me. I got headhunted actually. I'll be your boss soon. What? After that, I learned about her shocking past. My name is Ethan. My parents both worked, so I spent a lot of time with my grandfather, who lived with us. He was a police officer working at the local station, known as a kind officer, beloved by everyone in town. Even outside of his duty hours, he often went out to help with troubles in the neighborhood, offering advice and assistance. One night, my parents were out, and it was just my grandfather and me at home. Suddenly, we received a call from the owner of the nearby diner. There's a customer here who can't pay. It's a woman with a child. I'm not sure what to do. Understood. I'll be there right away. Since he couldn't leave me, a young child, alone at home, my grandfather carried me on his back and rushed to the diner. The woman who couldn't pay was sitting there dejectedly with her young daughter. The girl, not understanding the situation, looked frightened and tearful. The woman pleaded to my grandfather. It's not a dine and dash. I had my wallet just a moment ago. I must have dropped it somewhere. My grandfather, a seasoned police officer, instantly recognized that the woman was not a bad person and said to the shop owner, "If she lost her wallet, it can't be helped. I'll cover the cost for now." He paid the bill and took the woman and her daughter out of the shop. After getting their names and addresses, he let them go. That night, my grandfather and I, with me still on his back, searched for the woman's lost wallet. We finally found it at dawn and delivered it to the woman's home. Although I was young, being carried on his back, I could feel my grandfather's kindness. I understood why he was known as a kind officer, beloved by everyone in town. "Grandpa, when I grow up, I want to be a police officer too." When I said this, my grandfather smiled and said, "Ethan, I don't help people because I'm a police officer. I do it because I can't ignore people in trouble." Really? So, if you see someone in trouble, help them out. Good things will come your way eventually. Okay, I understand. My grandfather was my pride. Throughout elementary and middle school, I followed his advice, helping students in trouble, regardless of whether they were older or younger. Some students talked behind my back, calling me a phony and saying they didn't like me. But I didn't let it bother me. However, when I saw one of them bullying a younger student, I couldn't ignore it and confronted him. "Here comes Mr. Goody Two-Shoes again. This is none of your business. Back off. Don't do things that hurt others." Angered, he suddenly attacked me, and we ended up in a scuffle. In my passionate defense, we ended up in a scuffle. Eventually, we both collapsed, exhausted, but then he suddenly burst out laughing, and I found myself laughing too. "I thought you were just a goody two-shoes, but you're pretty tough. I've changed my mind about you." "You too." That's how we became friends. Just as my grandfather said, doing good deeds leads to good things. That's what I thought at the time. But in high school, there was one student who targeted me, causing trouble. It wasn't a boy, but a girl, and I was at a loss on how to handle her. Her name was Olivia. She was smart, always topping the class, charming in looks, and popular among both boys and girls. Yet, for some reason, Olivia always had a cold and disdainful attitude towards me alone. I was also a good student, so Olivia and I were chosen as class representatives together. As the cultural festival approached, the workload for class representatives was heavy. Our class decided to set up a pancake stall, with the girls handling the preparation and cooking of ingredients, and the boys building the stall. On the day before the festival, the stall was completed. It was a rush job, but we managed to create a pretty decent stall. What's this? This stall looks terrible. What do you mean? All the boys worked hard on it. It's because you as the class rep are useless. That's why we ended up with this odd stall. Redo it by tomorrow. Tomorrow? That's impossible. Then our class will have to cancel its participation in the festival. It's your responsibility, Ethan. Reluctantly, I stayed up all night alone to redo the stall. For some reason, Olivia always turned her face away whenever she saw me. She would even click her tongue intentionally. At first, she just showed her disdain through her attitude, but as graduation approached, she began to openly glare at me. On the day of the graduation ceremony, it was raining. Thinking how unlucky it was for such an important day, I headed to school and saw Olivia walking in the rain, apparently having forgotten her umbrella. Despite the unpleasant experiences she had caused me, following my grandfather's teaching to help those in trouble, I approached Olivia and said, "You'll get soaked on this important day of our graduation." I offered her my umbrella. Then Olivia glared at me fiercely and snapped, "Don't act like a stalker." "Stalker? What are you talking about? I'm just offering you an umbrella so you don't get wet. I didn't ask for your help. Stay away from me." She suddenly shoved me. I slipped and landed right in a puddle formed by the rain. So, I ended up attending the graduation ceremony completely drenched. Trying to help someone, but ending up in a worse situation myself, I muttered to myself. Grandpa said doing good deeds brings good things, but sometimes it doesn't work out. After graduating from high school, I landed a job at an IT company, where my programming skills were recognized, and I worked in the app development department. Being a science-oriented person, I had taught myself programming during high school and even obtained certifications. The app I contributed to developing received positive recognition in the industry, and just 3 years into my job, I was promoted to a lead position. The company grew, and among those who joined straight out of high school, I was at the forefront. All right, I'll keep pushing myself even harder. I was enthusiastic, but one evening, as I was about to head home after overtime, a man called out to me from the shadows. Listening to what he had to say, I exclaimed in disbelief, What? You can't be serious." This left me utterly astonished. A few days later, I received an email about a high school reunion. The thought of seeing my old classmates again made my heart race, but the organizer of the reunion was none other than Olivia. She was the same girl who had pushed me into the puddle on our graduation day. Honestly, I hesitated about attending, but the idea of missing out on a reunion I was looking forward to because of one unpleasant person seemed too much of a sacrifice. So, I replied with my attendance confirmation. When I arrived at the venue that day, I saw Olivia sitting at the reception. I didn't want to see her face, so I entered through a different entrance. Catching up with old classmates after a long time, I was suddenly poked in the back. Turning around, it was Olivia. "It's really bothersome, you know." What is? You didn't sign in at the reception, ignoring the rules. Do you even consider yourself a professional? Olivia was still as tough on me as ever. When I went to sign in, I saw Olivia's workplace written there and was surprised. "Not just your name, write down your workplace too." "Actually, I'm about to switch jobs." "That's not a job change. You got fired, right? With your high school education and clumsiness, there's no way you could switch jobs." I called Olivia back as she was about to return to the reception with a mocking look and said, "I'm being headhunted actually. I'll be your boss soon." Olivia was visibly shocked. I patted Olivia on the shoulder and left the venue. The man who appeared from the shadows after I worked overtime was a professional scout from a staffing agency. He had noticed my skills that contributed to the rapid growth of the IT company and offered me a headhunting opportunity. And the company he proposed for my new job was the one where Olivia worked. I switched to a major telecommunications equipment manufacturer, where a position as head of the development department was prepared for me. Although I was the youngest in management, it was also a testament to the high expectations of the company. Olivia was assigned as a project leader, making her a direct subordinate to me. Olivia couldn't honestly accept this fact, and couldn't resort to the same kind of harassment as in high school. She avoided eye contact and didn't speak to me. "Olivia, how long will it take to fix the project? Don't call me by my name." "Oh, right. We were high school classmates, so sorry." Even at work, Olivia was seen as a Madonna figure, but she remained cold only to me. She must have not found it amusing that I, whom she looked down upon, suddenly arrived and became her boss. I tried to talk to Olivia as little as possible. Once I got accustomed to the new workplace, a female employee invited me out for lunch. She was cheerful, so I readily accepted. "I heard you're knowledgeable in programming. Could you advise me on how to study?" "Well, I self-taught, but attending night school is the best way. If you decide to study, I'll change your work shift for you." "Thank you." The purpose of the female colleague inviting me to lunch was that consultation. But I was happy that she was proactive about wanting to learn programming. Leaving the restaurant, as I was heading back to the office with her, we ran into Olivia by chance. Her attitude then became colder than ever, and she started behaving defiantly towards me, her boss. Thinking this situation could affect the project, I quietly approached her at my welcome party later. "Olivia, I need to talk to you later." Having become cheerful from the alcohol, Olivia said, "Is that an order from the boss?" "Well, yes." Wanting to have a serious talk with Olivia, I responded so. Then Olivia, with her usual condescending look, stared at me and said, "Then I suppose I have no choice." After the party, she reluctantly followed me, and we entered a nearby bar. I intended to talk about the project's progress, but as the alcohol flowed, I vented my frustrations about Olivia's cold attitude towards me since high school. I was taught by my grandpa to help those in trouble, and in elementary and middle school, everyone liked me, but in high school, for some reason, you were the only one who looked down on me and harassed me. "Why, what about me didn't you like?" Olivia, who had been silently listening to my complaints, looked at me determinedly and said, I liked you, Ethan." For a moment, my mind went blank. "I really liked you, so when I saw you talking with other girls, I couldn't stand it, and that's why I acted that way." "You, really?" "After doing something so terrible on the day of our graduation ceremony, I thought we could never be friends again and gave up. But working together again, I realized I still like you." Look at the time. "Sorry, but let's call it a night for now." Thrown off by Olivia's unexpected confession, I hurriedly left the bar. According to Olivia's confession, it seems we both attended the same kindergarten. At that time, Olivia was being harassed by other boys, and I helped her. For me, taught by my grandfather to help others, it was a normal thing to do, but it seemed surprising to Olivia. Since then, she said, I became her hero. When I got home from the bar and told my grandfather, he asked, "What's the name of this woman?" "It's Olivia Parker." "Olivia, I see. It must be the same girl from back then." In fact, my grandfather once rushed to a diner on a report of a dine and dash, and the woman who had lost her wallet was named Parker. The girl with her was Olivia. Feeling a sense of destiny from this unexpected encounter, I decided to honestly accept Olivia's confession. Deep down, I had always harbored feelings for Olivia, who was like the Madonna of our school. The next day, I confessed to Olivia as well. Olivia nodded with a happy smile. It was the first time I saw her smile. I thought she was incredibly beautiful. When I told her about my grandfather's story, Olivia too felt it was a fateful encounter, laughing and saying, "If we get married, I'm sure we'll make it work." I vowed to make Olivia happy. And I realized my grandfather's teaching was indeed correct. Helping others will surely bring good things in return.